Good afternoon, everybody. How you doing? Oh, fantastic. I can tell already that you folks are going to be a lot better than the Boston group. I'm sorry. How many of you folks were at the Boston? Oh, almost all of you. Okay, no. Boston was a great event, very similar to this one. They're doing it on the two different coasts. I did a couple of things at Boston that we'll be doing here again today, just because they seem to be popular. But what I'd like to do is I'd like to start off and say, folks, I think you should stop training your salespeople. And I know that's a little bit radical. Stop training your salespeople, because salespeople, we do need them to learn. We do need them to perform. But there is a significantly better way to get them to increase their performance. And so we're going to talk about that. Before we get too deep into that, I'd like to tell you a little bit about me, because I just want to talk about me. Just teasing. Tell you just a little bit about me. I've been selling since I was 17 years old, and I'm 50 plus. So, and actually, if you would talk to some of my high school teachers, they would say that I was selling even before then. So I do know what it means to carry a bag, and I have been in the field. Been in the field a really long time. And I am a CEO of a company in Mason, Ohio, which is just north of Cincinnati, which is just north of Kentucky, which if you're from San Francisco, you still don't know where that is. So, because it's in the flyover zone, but it's a nice place if you ever come out. So anyway, I have carried a bag for just about forever, and I have sold for just about forever. I also have been a sales trainer for quite some time. Matter of fact, I've been a sales trainer for over 20 years. So I'm very familiar with the view that I see right here, right now. And I know it's only because they fed you red meat and red wine for lunch, and we have some pillows or whatever to, you guys can put your feet up. But no, I have been a sales trainer for quite some time. And so I do understand what it takes to get salespeople to perform. And a lot of the things that we're going to talk about today is from stuff I've learned over the last 25 years. But specifically, I had the same frustrations that a lot of sales executives had, which is we would do a fantastic 2-day workshop. And at the end of the 2-day workshop, we would get all the wonderful smile sheets, how did we do? And everybody would write 5 or 10 or whatever, best workshop we've ever been in. And that's all wonderful. And the question always was, did we change behavior? Did we increase revenue attainment? Did we increase your margin? And I began to get kind of the same frustrations that a lot of executives did. Spending a lot of money on training, and even if you're spending it with me, that makes me happy, but unless we're increasing your revenue, maybe it just wasn't what it should be. So, what I'd like to do in a very short time that we have together is give you folks some concepts, some tips, some techniques that you can take back. So if you're looking to improve your salespeople, if you're in charge of training, you may have heard some of these, embrace them. If you're in charge of a sales team, pull this presentation off of the website, take it with you, and take it and discuss it with your training organization, whoever's responsible for doing your training, and see if at all possible you can get them to adhere to these concepts. Okay? Fantastic. Well, one of the reasons why I brought up Boston is because we did Boston a bit ago, and it was very successful. Boston's a lovely town. And after Boston, in this thing called social media, there were a few of my slides that got tweeted. And some of them got tweeted, just like this guy's doing right here, where he's doing the camera. By the way, these are all available in the PDF format on the website. I encourage you to download them. My information is at the very end. If you email me, I'll email you the entire presentation. You're welcome to it. This was one of them. It was called the Personal Performance Pyramid. And this is something that we created over the last 20 some odd years that talks about how performance and how people are built. Now, when I say it was shared on social media, I'm not like I said, I'm 50 plus years old. Social media, I'm still getting my arms around it. I understand that this thing was shared like 7 times, and it got like 10 likes. So that's huge. Those are huge numbers for me. Huge numbers for me. And it was out on LinkedIn, and I'm going to get a LinkedIn account, and I'm going to see what that means. But I heard it's tremendous. So, joke, I have a LinkedIn account. I promise. So anyway, I'm going to cover this with you again because it's critical to everything that we're going to talk about today. This slide and one other slide, and you folks can take these slides. I have them electronically. You can take these concepts back to your organizations because it's really the culmination of my life's work that I'm giving away for free. Thank you. So, you know, it's pretty sad when you put your life's work up on the screen and people start laughing. You can laugh, it's okay. So when you're trying to build performance, and any type of performance, this pyramid really plays. And it starts at the very bottom, which is what we call attributes. So attributes are the things that you will find inside of an individual. They are typically formed inside of you as an individual before you're 20 or 25 years old. They are your values, they are your beliefs, they are your core. They are really what you are. It's your characteristics. And by the time that you're 20 or 21, if you don't have these characteristics, whatever they may be, it's really tough to ingrain them or instill in someone. When I talk about attributes, I talk about things like integrity, work ethic, intelligence, empathy. If you don't have those things by the time that you're 20 or 21, you can't send somebody to a 2-day workshop on integrity and expect them to come out with integrity. Actually, what you're going to get is worse. You're going to get somebody without integrity who now knows how to fake integrity. Did you actually throw out a name? Is that what I heard? No. So attributes are the things that we are. It's the things that we are. And they're also, some of them can be physical, like, it might be height. So attributes. They are requisites typically to a job. And what you do is you hire to a list of attributes because you don't have enough time, money, or effort to change the characteristics of a person. Let me give you a good example of that. Just throw it up here, dude. I'll step on it. We can get rid of that like right now. It's all right. Answer it. Are you sure? Okay. Here, I'll answer it. Okay. No, he's busy right now. He's listening to me. Now, who is this? No. So, you hired attributes. Let's say, we'll use a local example, the Golden State Warriors, you guys have heard of them, right? Let's say the Golden State Warriors wanted to find a new center for the basketball team. Let's ignore the fact that they just stole Kevin Durant, but let's say they needed a center for their basketball team, right? And I, J. Stephen Osborne, applied for that job. I don't think I'm going to get hired because I don't have the right attributes. See, because there are several things that I'm not that you need to be a basketball player, right? I'm not tall. I certainly can't be an NBA center. I couldn't, no matter how many times you train me to be an NBA center, I'm not going to be a successful NBA center. Why? Because I'm short, right? I mean, by NBA standards, right? I'm 6'1", right? I just ain't going to make it. I may be short, okay? I may be short, but I'm slow. And I don't have a lot of hand-eye coordination. And that whole physical thing is, so anyway. So I'm not going to make an NBA center based on my attributes alone. And no matter how many times you try to train me or no matter how much energy, it's going to be just like teaching a pig to sing. You've heard that before, right? Right? You don't ever want to try to teach a pig to sing. You're only going to be disappointed, and the pig's only going to get frustrated. And that would be the same when you hire somebody with the wrong attributes. But should you get somebody with the right attitudes, the right aptitudes, the discipline, the drive, and the desire, you've hired that right individual. Now you can begin to build their knowledge. Knowledge is, believe it or not, the easiest of all things to instill in someone. You can read a book, you can play a tape, you can watch a movie, you can do that again and again, either through experiential learning and or through just rote memorization. But knowledge is the easiest thing to transfer, and you do exactly that. You transfer knowledge. And you can do that either online or you can do that offline. Once you have knowledge, meaning what it is, how big is it, why do people buy it, how much does it cost, what does it weigh. Then you need what is called actionable knowledge. And actionable knowledge is what we call skill. So not only do I know what it is, but now I know what to do with that information when someone asks, and I'm able to deliver it with a certain amount of pizzazz, and I'm able to do it in a convincing and compelling manner. Now, the ability to do that well and on demand is what we call proficiency. And you drive proficiency typically through field-based coaching. So you hire attributes, you transfer knowledge, you build skills in the workshop. Build skills in the workshop, and then you use coaching to drive proficiency. I'll use just one more sports analogy, but don't worry, I promise you it won't be the last one that I'll use today. Golf. I'm an okay golfer. I do golf with my wife, and I will admit my wife's a pretty good golfer, and it's a coin toss as to who's typically going to win and who's going to do the dishes. Actually, there's never any question about who's doing the dishes. It's me. But golf. So I have the general attributes to play golf, right? I can swing around my body, I can hold a club. I actually have a ton of golf knowledge. My wife was kind enough for my birthday to get me a subscription to Golf Digest. Well, we read it cover to cover every week. Matter of fact, I know all about, the loft of the wedge and the driver and the tee and the sand shots. I've learned about golf since I started playing it also when I was 17. And so I know a ton about golf. I even have a little bit of golf skill. I can hit a ball, and until maybe just the last few years, I was able to drive in the 250, 270 range, which is pretty decent for a guy, my size and build. It's a pretty decent. The problem is I have almost zero proficiency. And proficiency is the ability to do something well and on demand. So while I could hit a ball 270 yards, the question about where it was going to land, I also know a lot about golf. I know the exact RPMs that'll make a ball go left or right, which is called a draw or a fade. If you do it with intent, if you do it when it's called a slice or a hook, if you really don't know what you're doing. The problem is while I have all the knowledge and the skill, I really have no proficiency. The same goes for sales. You hire the attributes, you transfer the knowledge. And with that, folks, is really what the next few slides are built on. So sales training. Don't get me wrong, sales training is a great thing. I know it says stop training your salespeople because what I want you to do in your mind is I want you to stop thinking about training. We focus on the event. We focus on the act of training. It's like when Amazon comes to your house and delivers something. Are you really interested in what's in the box? Or are you interested in the truck that brought it? Because really, training's just a delivery vehicle. What you're really interested in is what you ordered. And what you're trying to order is the proficiency of your salespeople. How that happens, quite frankly, you don't care if it's a truck training or what form that training took place. I want you to stop thinking about training your salespeople. How many of you have ever said this, or have you heard something like this said in your sales meeting or executive meeting or whatever? If I can get 2 hours to train these people, it'll all be okay. We can get these guys on the right track. How many of you have heard that? It's okay, you can raise your hands. I can't see you, so it doesn't matter. I'm just going to assume you're all raising your hands right now. Okay, great. So, if I can just get a couple of hours, I can train these people. And that actually does not work with adults. The truth of the matter is training is not what you want. What you want is certification. You want to certify that the people know what to do. Here, simple question. What's more important? To have someone stand in front of your people and talk for 2 days about the important stuff of your products and your clients? Or at the end of those 2 days, your salespeople being able to actually do and perform the way that you want them to perform. Clearly, the latter is more important. That's why we say, do not train your salespeople. Do not let the training be the focus. Let certification be the focus, so that at the end of those 2 days, they prove to you that they're actually able to do those skills, to execute on that which was being taught. Don't let a 2-day, 5-day, 2-hour, 7-hour, I don't care, training session go on without a good portion of the last portion of that event being their demonstrated ability to execute on the skill that you were trying to teach. Does that make sense? Thank you. Yeah, of course it does. But as a sales trainer, I spent years missing that. And as a sales executive, not in the day-to-day business of adult learning, I'm sure it was rarely brought to your attention. So as you're working with your sales training organizations, make sure that you demand certification. By the way, not just at the end of the workshop, but 2 weeks later, a month later, 90 days later. And let's not just focus on the workshop, but we're going to have to focus on coaching tools as well. We'll talk about that in just a moment. By the way, I just realized that about half the time I keep hitting the little laser, and it's pointed this way. Have I put anybody's eye out with that yet? Does it work? Okay. So there's 4 fundamental flaws that we make, mistakes, if you will, in sales training. I want to talk about how to avoid them. First of all, learning should be continuous. This is what I was just talking about. We all know that going to the gym every 6 months does not build your body. It just makes you freaking sore for 3 days, right? If I could go to the gym every 6 months and spend a day in the gym, I would look like Charles Atlas. For those of you who are far too young to remember who Charles Atlas was, I would look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. You guys remember him, right? Right? Because everybody wants a great body. Everybody wants to be healthy. I'm no different than anyone else. And if I could just spend 2 days in the gym, that's what I would do. Oh, on August 15th, we're going to have sales training. Let me tell you how that kind of plays out, right? So the sales trainer says, oh, on August 15th, we're going to have sales training. And the sales manager says, on August 15th, we're going to have sales training. And the salespeople go, oh, on August 15th, we're going to have sales training. We're going to have sales training. I can't do that because on August 15th, we're going to have sales training. The issue is that, again, we're looking at that one-time event, and we need to not look at training and learning as a one-time event. It needs to be continuous. What you need to do, if you're putting together a program, if you're thinking about training your salespeople at the national team meeting, stop. Think about training your salespeople at that national team meeting, and then what you're going to do the next week, and then what you're going to do the week after that, and what you're going to do the week after that. I know that sounds like a lot. I promise you it's not. Because all you're going to do is take the content and just chunk it up into smaller chunks. And all you're going to do is take the content and revisit it a few weeks later. And all you're going to do is take the content and reinforce and provide coaching tools. It's the same food. We're serving it again and again. It's okay. Leftovers are good, at least when it comes to learning. By the way, also, if you do not get your first line sales managers, you have to get your first line sales managers involved. Let me say that again. You have to get your first line sales managers involved. Not because it's important for the salespeople, but because of that line right there. You never learn more than when you teach. And if you want to get your sales managers really good at what they do, force them to teach the skills needed, because it'll freak them out. It really will. Because, it's one thing to say, hey, you really ought to be a better salesperson. And it's something else entirely to tell them exactly what that is and for your sales manager to demonstrate that skill. Content heavy, practice light. Kind of talked about this already, but if I have 2 hours of the sales meeting, I'm going to teach you everything that you need to know about the universe. And I'm going to do it in 2 minutes, and I'm going to do it in such a way, right? And it's going to go on and on and on and on. Just stop. Adults can only ingest so much, and if you're feeding it so fast that they can't record it or they can't encode it and they can't experience it and they can't practice it, you're not teaching them anything. So how many times again have we said in a meeting when we have heard those words, hey, look, we want you to train everybody about the whole new products. You've got 2 hours. All right, well, 2 hours isn't going to do it. Recently, we had a client come to us and we said, look, here's how this works. We'd love to teach you at your sales meeting. Here's the things that you have to do in follow-up. And we have to have all your coaches in first because they actually have to be taught how to coach. We want to take them through a work session on how to coach. And the executive vice president, or I'm sorry, the person in charge of human resource development said, I've talked to them about coaching before. I don't think that they're going to want to do it. So we got the executive vice president in the room. We suggested that to him. Look, we're going to take all your sales managers out of the field. We're going to work with them first on exactly how to coach these things. And the gentleman said, I'm not sure that we can afford that time out of the field. What I really want is just a 2-day workshop. I said, I understand that. I get where you're coming from. Let me find a company that'll do that for you. He said, what? I said, let me find a company that'll do that for you. He said, I don't understand. I said, Jim, I've already known each other for about 18 months, and you're a pretty great guy. Here's what I want to tell you. If you're not going to have your coaches coaching what we're teaching, you're wasting 100% of your money, and I'd much rather you waste your money with someone else than spend it with us and have a bad spend. First line managers are the fulcrum that levers your entire investment. When you leave that training event, whatever that is, if that's 2 days or whenever it is, and they go back into the field, your sales manager will either advance or they will erode your 2-day investment. And you better have them set up to advance it prior to those reps returning to the field. Does that make sense? Has anyone ever experienced that? So you got to coach your coaches to coach. And I just hit the pause button. You know, there are 4 individual buttons on this remote. I have now pressed all 4 of them. I've really only been aiming for one. Knowledge versus skill. We talked about this in the pyramid slide. Workshops are knowledge-centric, not skill-centric. Remember about transferring knowledge? Please don't have 2-day workshops where you're transferring the knowledge to people. Transfer the knowledge before they get in. Matter of fact, have them take an assessment before they show up. You want to get people's attention? Tell them you have training on August 15th. The information's coming out beforehand. By the 13th, you'll have to take a test. If you do not pass the test, you can't come to the workshop. At first, they'll go, woohoo, I don't have to go to training. And then they'll figure it out. Oh, wait a minute. That's actually a bad thing, right? Because the people will catch on. Practice skills. Remember, your workshops are your highest bandwidth medium. They're also your most expensive delivery medium. Use that medium to build skills, not to transfer knowledge. Work with the people that are putting on your sales training, work with your learning and development people to make sure that that's the case. Prior to the workshop, use online learning. Online's PDF, web pages, oh my God, heaven forbid, even a book. They're made out of paper, a square. You'll find them. You can order them from Amazon. They'll bring them in a truck. By the way, adults learn differently, and they don't learn through rote memorization. Actually, they learn best through experience. Our best part of some of the workshops that we teach, I'll give you a great example. One of our clients is Panasonic. We're teaching the guys that sell the Panasonic laptops, teaching them how to sell services. And one of the services was configuration. We'll teach you how to why you want to sell configuration. And I had a rep say to me, for $30, are you kidding me? It's $30. I don't ever sell that. Why? Why don't you ever sell it? They can do it themselves. So we got the reps together. We had put them in 2 teams. We had 60 laptops there. We had 15 people on a team. We said, great, you're now being timed. Unbox every laptop, pull them out, turn them on, power them on, load this disk image on them, rebox them, send them out. At the end of the workshop, at the end of that little session, I said, can you guys now sell this for $30? They said, are you kidding me? I never, ever, ever want to do that again. I said, great, it's worth $30, isn't it? He said, it's worth twice that. I said, great, go sell it for $60. But the fact of the matter is, they learn through experience. Back to the pyramid. So this is the really simple format of the pyramid. Really simple format. Pyramid geometry. Let's go back to high school. Anybody remember chemistry class? Oh, don't say it that way. Anybody remember high school? Yeah. Anybody remember chemistry class? Yeah. All right. We've got at least one geek in here. We have this thing that we call the periodic table of success for sales. And what we realized over time was that we would look at people and we'd say, excuse me, young lady, what is your name?
Karen.
Kara. And we'd say, Kara, I need you to be a better salesperson. So, Kara, be a better salesperson. Okay. And she'd say, okay, and I'm going to go out and I'm going to try. The issue with that is it's not actionable. You can't change that be a great salesperson. What you do is if you can actually take an individual or if you will, a role, a job, and break it down into its individual components, you can then transmutate those individual components. I can work on those things individually. I can work on them individually. This is what we call the periodic table of success for sales. We use it in several ways. One of which is we use it as an exercise, as a learning tool. By the way, this is also available on the web. There's a website where you can go and pull it up and say, okay, what I'd like for you to do is, as a team, tell me, you get to pick anything that starts with an A, attitudes, attributes, or aptitudes. Those are all one category. Knowledge and skills, you get to pick 5 of each, go. Let the fight ensue. You will be amazed at trying to define the perfect salespeople in 15 elements and the learning that goes on with that. We also have an exercise where we say pick 8 elements. Young man, your name is? Ralph. So we'd say, hey, Ralph. And Ralph is sitting next to somebody who Ralph knows, right? And then we'd say, Ralph, grab 8 elements, without telling Bob, grab 8 elements of somebody that you both know. And as Ralph begins to pull the elements aside, Bob, amazingly, with nothing other than the chemical makeup of that person, right, will name exactly who that person is. It is spooky. Remember the executive vice president who I said was reluctant to train his coaches, and we told them that we wouldn't do business with him? He actually has this in his office. And whenever he's talking to somebody one-on-one, doing his one-on-one with his salespeople, he literally has this on a, I don't know, how big is that, 2x3 piece of foam board, presentation board, and they walk through it. And if they're having issues with someone, just some performance issues, they're almost always able to identify it by an element. We'd love for you folks to use it. We really would. All different ways to use it. And so this is very similar. Jeff Seeley was he did a fantastic presentation when he was talking about the genome, the sequence of salespeople and sales leadership. This is basically just a different visualization of those very similar concepts. Jeff is a great guy. Carew is a fantastic company. If you haven't had an opportunity to meet them, please, they're out here. So what we would suggest when you have that table is we pick 5 things from each category. Pick what they are. Remember we were talking about characteristics? Those are really the A's, if you will. And then what they know, what they can do exceptionally well, and then what do they accomplish, and that is performance. If you can answer those questions, picking out those 5 things, it will help you focus on what your sales superhero should look like. And I will back that up. If you didn't get a picture of that and you want to get a picture of that along with your 5 questions, please go right ahead. If you'd like any help with that whatsoever. Oh, I'm sorry. So the pyramid is the key to building awesome people, and I know you guys are all into awesomeness. You want to certify your teams, not just to train them. You've got to leverage adult learning concepts. Please use workshops to build skills. not to transfer knowledge first. As I said in Boston, I'll say it here again in San Francisco now. Love you guys. Go sell something. And by the way, if you need help with any of that whatsoever, that's me. And no, I don't have a first name. It's just Jay. It's a long story. I was just a baby. And as I was being born, the nurse said, "What's his name?" My father said, "Jack," which was his name. My dad's name's Jack. He says, "Jack, well, it's my boy. His name's Jack." Yeah, so no, Mom said no. Anyway, she'd already written in ink the J. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. My time is up. If you need any help, that's my information. I'd love to help you out with any of the things that you saw today. Thank you so much, and please enjoy the rest of your conference.